Hello everyone, welcome to chapter 21. This is the first of two videos for the chapter, our very final chapter of the semester. And it is a pretty easy chapter, very formula driven. It's called Cost Volume Profit Analysis, and it's full of formulas that are pretty easy to follow. There's one you have to rearrange, and I highlight that in the next video where we have the sample problem. I'm going to go through them kind of quickly, and in the instructions this week I told you only go up to page 1142, which is about 2/3 of the chapter. Not that the rest of the chapter isn't also important for the analyses, but the formulas just keep going on, and there are many of them, and they're not all in here, but I think you get a really good idea up to that point how to do these and how you can do variations of them. So let me go over some of the important points in the chapter. It starts out on page 1128, and I'm looking at slides actually from 29 to 33, 1129 to 1133, and the slides are 21:6 through 13, where they talk about how do costs behave when volume changes. Now, they're talking about volume in units. It could be units for a service business. As in the next video, we're going to have a number of shows that a theater company performs. That would be they're providing the service. It could be for a merchandising business, the number of units they sold. Or it could be for a manufacturing business, as we had in the last chapter. When Smart Touch started to make their own tablets, the number of units produced. So this is showing how costs can be separated and try to kind of get a handle on them and classify them where they should be, okay? So you can kind of make plans based on what you get. So first, kind of there's pretty much a truism in cost or managerial accounting, whatever you want to call it, between variable means changing, right? And fixed means don't change. So those are the two kinds of cost. And there's also something called mixed costs, which have components of both variable and fixed. That would be like, say, a cell phone. Up to a certain number of minutes, it's maybe $29.99. And then over a certain number of minutes, it's so much per minute. Of course, a lot now you hear about unlimited minutes. But this is true, and I believe the example they give is for cell phones. But this would be true for renting equipment or machinery in a plant, number of hours or number of units given up to a certain point, and then if you go over it, so much per hour or per minute. Same with utility meters, there's a certain fixed part, and then as you go over the usage, it's more. So that has elements of both fixed and variable. You call this mixed cost. So what I want you to know about fixed and variable is variable costs per unit are always the same. But as you make or produce, same thing, or perform services or sell goods, as volume increases, variable costs skyrocket, kind of like this if you graph it. Matter of fact, the graph is on page 1130, the behavior of variable cost. It's kind of going up at a big incline as number of tablets are produced. They're talking about Smart Touch. But per unit, they remain the same. If you go on to fixed cost, which starts at the bottom of 1130 to 1131, there's a straight line on the graph because total fixed costs remain the same over what we call the relevant range. The relevant range means up to the capacity they can produce, sell, or services provided, okay? That's called a relevant range. They talk about relevant range all the time. That's all it means. The capacity to which you can operate, okay? Fixed costs stay constant, but costs per unit for fixed costs go down as you make more. As your volume increases, it goes down. Why? because you're dividing by a bigger number. The denominator gets bigger the more that you make or sell, or services, number of services provided. So the denominator gets larger and larger. That brings the fixed cost per unit down. So just kind of to show you, there's on page 1132, let me see the slide in case you're looking at that. Slide 2111. Oh, 2110. Nope, 11. On the top, exhibit 21.3, I'm on the top of 1132, number 11 in the slides. You see characteristics of variable and fixed. Pretty much they're summarizing what I just said, okay? Variable cost per unit remain the same. Total keeps going up steadily as you do more volume. Just the opposite for fixed. Total remains the same. As you make more, goes down each unit. Then they have the mixed cost, as I was talking about, elements of both. The graph for that is about cell phones, I believe. And they also talk about operating your car. If you look at the italics under the graph, like insurance is a fixed cost. Number of miles you drive and gas and repairs, those are all variable, okay? Those change. But insurance, at least for the current, see, fixed costs stay fixed for one current period of time, and then they change. Like you get a new insurance bill, it's probably always goes up. So fixed costs stay fixed for a period of time, one, say the current period, okay? Then they'll change in the next period. So how do you, the next section, how do you kind of put these into categories? There's actually a really precise way, and you can use an Excel formula sheet on it. They don't show that here. It's extremely accurate. The one that they're showing is called the high-low method. It's been around forever. It's just an estimation. It's a pretty good estimation. What they do is they take, and I'm on page 1133 at the bottom. You identify the highest and lowest levels of activity and the costs associated with them. And then that change, right, is going to be, if you look, I think there's a good example that I can show you quickly. How to get the variable cost, the change in cost over the change in volume. The highest minus the lowest, right? And the example here, the highest was 1960. The lowest volume that they did for tablets was 1480. And then we had the lowest, 480 minus 240 on the number of tablets made. So that came up to $480 divided by 240 tablets, $2 per tablet variable cost. Once you have that variable cost, you can figure out the fixed cost by just substituting it in the equation. And you can see they give a couple examples. Total manufacturing cost is $2 per tablet variable times any number of tablets made. And the fixed cost is $1,000. Okay. It's not a precise science. Actually, I remember doing this one on Excel just to see what I would get, and I got $1.90. So it's if you put in all those variables. It's not that different, but it is kind of a rough estimation that can be used pretty easily. It doesn't matter what quantity you plug in. I think they gave you a little table here. On 1133 in the first quarter, this is for maintenance cost. They produced 360 and then 415 and 480 in the third quarter. The last quarter was only 240. So the highest was 480 and the lowest was 240. And then the costs associated 1960 and 1480. That's where those numbers come from in the equation. So anyway, they got $2 and they can put that onto anything because the fixed costs are not going to change over the relevant range. Only the variable cost will change as you make more. So they talk about the relevant range, and you can see their relevant range goes from 0, of course. Nobody wants to do 0, but they're right between 2001, which is their low end, and they can go all the way up to 4,000. You see it highlighted in red. Let me see if I can get you. That's on page 1135. If I can just get you a, yes, slide 21. 2119, I'm sorry. Number 19 is the relevant range I'm talking about. If you're looking at your slides. Okay, so the next section is pretty much the last we're going to do, and goes up to the page I want to go up to. So this is the contribution margin and how it's used to compute operating income. I'm on 1136 and slide 21. This is when they start with formulas, how to get your contribution margin. I'm going to use these formulas in the sample problem I'm going to do next. Net sales revenue equals net sales revenue minus revenue variable cost. So the net sales revenue was $100,000, $500 per tablet times 200, and the variable cost was $275 per tablet times 200 tablets. So it comes out to $4,500 in dollars. Okay, you can do it per unit. You come out with $225 per unit contribution margin, and then the ratio, of course, is 45%. 45,000 over 100,000. Contribution margin over the sales revenue is 45%. You can actually make an income statement out of it. All of these I'm going to do for you in a sample problem in the next video. You can see at the bottom of 1137, you have an income statement. The traditional income statement classifies costs by function, right? They're either period costs or product costs. Period costs would be like selling and administrative expenses and insurances and depreciation, things like that. Product costs would be anything related to making or selling your product or providing your service. We're used to the traditional income statement by function. That's how it classifies the costs. For a contribution margin, we're classifying by behavior, okay? Variable and fixed costs. That's what we're putting the costs into. So you can see there's one versus the other, a traditional income statement versus the contribution margin income statement. It would be slide 2125, exhibit 21.6 on the bottom of 1137. They show you the contribution margin income statement. Also, I believe in the fourth requirement of the next video, I'll be doing one for you for the theater company. So you can see one done out. Too bad they didn't actually do one out here. They didn't. Okay, well, that's okay. To get to the last couple of pages, the cost problem volume profit or CVP analysis. Okay, there we're using our equation method. We're going to use it in the next problem. There's 3 ways to get this break even. Break even means total revenue minus total cost. Profit is 0. You didn't make any money, but you covered all your costs, both fixed and variable. So they show the 3 ways you can get break even. The equation approach, you have to rearrange the equation. The hardest one, again, I'm going to show it to you step by step in the next video. There's a nice example of it on 1139, net sales revenue minus variable cost minus fixed cost equals target profit. For break even, target profit is 0. Right? So they solve for number of units sold to break even at 60 units. Okay. They also show you the contribution margin approach, which is way easier. Fixed cost plus target profit, 0 over the contribution margin per unit. And we see 13,500 plus 0 over 225 equals 60 units. You can also do it by the contribution margin ratio, which they show you on the next page, 1140, 225 per unit divided by net sales revenue per unit, $500, 45%. And the dollars would be sales in dollars to break even, fixed cost plus target profit. Fixed cost 13,500 plus 0 over 45%. Break even dollars 30,000. All of this can be grafted, and that's going to be the last thing I show you. I just want one more thing before I show you the graph. If you look at 1141, slide 36 and 37. On the exhibit 21.7, we see a target profit given. Same formula, you would just now, no more profit, 0. They want $4,500 in profit now. How many units do you have to sell, right? Make, in this case, they're making the tablets, to earn a profit of $4,500. Use the same equation, except now target profit is no longer 0, it's $4,500. So it shows the 3 ways to get it, the same 3 ways, the equation approach, where you have to solve for units, sold is 80, and then the contribution margin approach, fixed cost plus target profit over the contribution margin per unit, also comes out to 80, as well as the ratio approach, comes up to the same, and the dollars would be $40,000. Would be required sales in dollars to make those 80 units would be 40,000, and you would have a profit of 4,500. We are going to do a target profit in requirement 3 in the next video. The very last thing, kind of the grand finale. If you look at Exhibit 21.8 on 1142, you're going to see a graph, which is kind of the culmination of all of these pages. Shows you this whole thing on a graph, where you can plot the points. You notice they have it into steps. The operating income, the sales revenue, which goes from 0 point all the way up to 80. Right, if they make the $4,500 target profit. The break even at 60 units, $30,000, you see a point there. You see the orange line, the fixed cost. Okay, step 2, the fixed cost is grafted. Fixed cost is $13,500. And then you draw the lines. We actually used to do this back when I learned it. We had graph paper, we actually drew this stuff. And where the break even is, and you have the lines intersecting, you see the green area. Anything over break even in that green area is all going to be operating income. It's going to be income. But if it's below the point, the break even point, the orange shading, that's going to be a loss. It's going to be an operating loss. So it allows you to see within your relevant range what you can actually do and how much you can make. Again, this is very easy to do on an Excel sheet. You don't have to draw it anymore. But the steps are the same. You just put in your variables and it'll give you a beautiful graph. We don't have to do that at this point, but I just wanted to kind of show you. So I am all set. The next I'm going to show you an example problem of all this stuff. So we'll see you in a few minutes. Any questions? Just ask. Bye-bye.